and my Uncle Billy had bought a 1939 Rolls Royce Wraith. He bought this car around about 1970. This is the car in circa 1989 when I used to take it out for a ride. I took the car all around. I took it to my old elementary school and to our family's original home. It was wonderful. In 1970, and we enjoyed that car for many years. It was before I could drive, and he would drive us around in the back seat in this beautiful Rolls Royce. But this is a wonderful story that you're going to find out about a whole circle of events of what this Rolls Royce from when it was purchased in 1970 to today. And it's going to be a great story. So it's a little long, but it's interesting. You'll like it. You'll see how it goes. First of all, when he got the car, it was about $5,000, and it had all its original paperwork with it. And the paperwork came that it was purchased from a lord in Parliament. And it had all the original books and everything with it. And he had the car for many, many years. I think until from 1970 to about, I'd say, 1995. And in about 1989, because I loved the car, I asked him, can I take it out for rides? And he said, no problem. Take it out for rides. Do whatever you want. So I said, in turn, I will, wax it and, kind of finish the leather over and keep it nice and clean. So one day I was out, and of course you could only drive it on weekends because it had an antique license plate. And on my way back from a little journey, someone was beeping the horn to have me pull over and park the car, and they wanted to ask me. They were all excited. We need this car. We need this car so bad. My mother is selling her house over in the next street, and it's a beautiful house. It's going into Architectural Digest. And we would like to put this car in front of the house and then have Architectural Digest take a picture and all that. So I told him to get in touch with my uncle. He got in touch with my uncle. Essentially, the picture was taken, beautiful picture of the car in front of the house. And so then eventually, a few years later, my uncle wanted to restore the car, fully. So he brought it to someone, and he had lost track of time. I think about a year went by. And after that year, he went to check on the car, and whoever he had left it with left it outside. And the car had never, ever been out of a garage its whole 50 years at that time, 55 years. And he couldn't believe, but the whole thing was dilapidated. All the mohair and the leather was destroyed. Everything was horrible. The paint, everything was rusted. He was so distressed. He didn't tell me this till many years later. But as the story continues, he ended up deciding to sell the Rolls Royce. And he sold it for about $18,000, I believe, to a man from England. And he had the car shipped back to restore. So my uncle gave him all the paperwork and all the information that went with it. And he kept in touch with my uncle and I guess wrote him a letter and said that he had restored the car and all the original screws. He put all original screws back in and took the body off the chassis, that whole thing. It came out great. And apparently this guy knew that it came with a luggage set. So because he had the information from my uncle about who was the previous owner in 1939, he got in touch with the estate, and the person that answered the door when he went to see her was the daughter of the lord that had the car made from. Well, she started to tell him a story about that she was married in that car. She went to her wedding in that car, and she's not going to believe it, but he asked, do you still have, tell him a story about that she was married in that car. She went to her wedding in that car, and she's not going to believe it, but he asked, do you still have the luggage that went with that car? And she said, I do. It's in the attic with my wedding dress. So he actually got back the original luggage that went with the car, and he ended up selling it in like a Rolls Royce antique show in England. And because it was restored to such pristine original luggage and everything, it was about $350,000. Well, you're never going to believe who bought the Rolls Royce. The picture you're about to see, I'll let you figure it out yourself. But the new owner that you're looking at is Lord Carnarvon of Downton Abbey, which is actually Highclere Castle. And that's the car completely restored. So is that an amazing story about a car that you... Lord Carnarvon in front of Highclere Castle, and you can see him standing next to his new Rolls Royce. So isn't it an amazing story that this car went from coming to America, going back to England, and ending up being purchased by another lord in Parliament? It's just an incredible story. Amazing. Really amazing.